Lord, yes, papi, hit me one time and make it funky.
I was brought up and told to have no fear. I was brought up and told to have no fear. I was brought up and told to have no fear.
Podcast number 10. I'm one of your hosts, David Roberts, along with the OG, Dr. Neil Holmes, and we have the return of the oral historian, Andre Taylor. Today we have a very special guest with us, and I want to talk about the Black hair care industry and specifically why we don't control such a lucrative business that's built off of us. My guest today is someone I've known pretty much all my life, Mr. Mark Wilson. Brother Mark, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing excellent. It's been a busy day, but I'm so happy to be able to be on this call, this Zoom call, to talk about what's going on in our industry and in our community.
Definitely. And the great thing about it, I know you're still in the trenches, and people won't know because this is pre-recorded and then we post at a certain time. But we had to wait about a half hour for you because you were still with clients, and that's a good thing, And I know that's part of being an entrepreneur. It's like, you eat what you kill, basically. It's like you don't have the sick days and the holidays. So I get it when you say, hey, man, I need another 40 minutes. Hey, cool. And definitely had no problem waiting, but I think it was worth the wait. Before we get into some of the obstacles you probably experienced in your industry, why don't you tell us exactly what it is you do for the sake of our listening audience and what business you're involved in?
Okay, well, I'm in the hair and spa business, the whole beauty business, the whole beauty industry I'm involved with. I'm a licensed nail technician and a licensed esthetician. So basically I do nail care and skin care and waxing. So I've been in the industry over 25 years. It's been very good for me. I love it still to this day. And that's about it. I can't really remember what else you asked me.
But you have, I know there's things that you do, but you have hairstylists on site as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, that's probably new to you, but and this is good for the conversation. I had to give up the hair business. I had to give that up because of some of the things that we will talk about during this podcast or this Zoom call.
All right. Why don't we go right into that? What are some of the obstacles you've experienced in this business as far as hair care?
Well, with the hair thing, I had opened up my first hair salon years ago, and that's what made me actually get into the nail license, because I thought that once I opened that salon that I would be on a golf course, driving a drop top, and just living the life. Well, it didn't work that way. It's just a different type of beast, a different type of animal. And wound up leaving that business, and I opened up another hair salon, honestly, as a favor to a friend, as that sounds crazy, because in our industry, in our area in Cleveland, there wasn't a hair salon that people felt good going to. And they knew that with the type of person I am, that I was going to build something nice for the clientele to come. Lo and behold, I did it. We did very well. We were rocking and rolling. But the issue is that all hairstylists have an individual taste. So, and everybody wants their own. Right. So therefore, once they get enough resources, income, whatever, they think they could do it on their own. And now everybody has their own shop.
Right.
So it's just, everybody just separates. Nobody sticks together and works collaboratively.
All right. And that's kind of the direction I want to go into, because as I understand it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know this business. So everything I know is just what I've heard.
Right.
A lot of Asian shop owners will pool their resources and buy things in bulk amongst themselves. The same way you can't compete with a Walmart on prices because they can buy 10,000, tubes of something and get it at 79 cents, and you'd have to only buy 100 and get them at $1.25. Some, you know, so I understand that they do that. Is that the only reason that you see that we, as the Black community, don't dominate the Black hair care industry? That's like a $70 billion business, if I'm understanding that correctly.
Well, it's hard to compare the Asians with us because the Asians don't really own hair salons. They only own the nail salons. And honestly, I don't really know how they conduct their business because I don't want to be a snitch, but I've never seen an Asian in a nail school. So I don't know. I think they they may even share licenses. I don't know what they do in order to, and I think that they do. They have some type of stronghold on that industry where they either they're helping each other, and like if one shop is not doing well, it'll support the other one, and I think that's how they do it. But as far as the hair business is concerned, it's just a matter of we just don't stick together and build together. I don't honestly doesn't think it has anything to do with the Asians.
Okay.
I honestly don't.
Yeah, I had a question. What happened to the big hair company? You know, Johnson and Bronner Brothers, all those the big companies that dominated the business at one time.
That I don't know. That was probably at the beginning of my career. That those things were very hot, and they just fizzled out. I don't know if how they manage their businesses or anything, but they don't even have those things anymore.
Mm-hmm. Now, I met a woman who was a hairstylist, had a beauty salon back in South Carolina in the civil rights movement. And they had a network of women who had, you know, we used to call them beauty parlors.
Right.
And it was and they did a lot of political work. That's where they did a lot of the passed a lot of information on about the movement, what they were trying to do, how you could prepare at that time for the vote, and so forth. Do you see a potential for that in today's beauty world?
Neil, that sounds so amazing of what used to happen. We have so many social ills as a community right now that any type of conversation that you hear in a hair salon, a barbershop, well, you know what? Actually, not the barbershop, because the barbershop, the guys, a lot of times I talk very intelligent at barbershops, but in hair salons, no, I don't really hear that type of conversation. And with us being so distracted of what's going on in the world socially, social media, we're just being bombarded with so many negative things that there is no type of, from what I've experienced, there's just no type of bond going on in these hair salons where they're going to get out a lot of positive things, you know. And I don't want to be a total down or say it's totally negative, but it's just not like what you're describing, you know. And I'm sure maybe back in the day, those women used to kick the willy bobo and shoot the stuff too, you know what I mean? So I'm sure it wasn't all just political thought, you know what I mean? But at the same time, right now, I just don't see that type of climate where they're gonna have some type of meeting where things come together and they make some type of movement coming out of a salon, which would be great and which makes a lot of sense. But no, not right now.
Mark, how you doing? I'm thanks for joining tonight.
No problem, brother.
You're licensed in doing nails.
Yes.
So I've been in nail salons. I've gotten my manicures, my pedicures, and pampered myself. I've never seen another Black involved with that. So what is it that could be done to bolster this business within the Black community and get more Blacks interested in being on the business side as opposed to the customer side?
Well, in my industry, the nail tech industry and the esthetician industry, it's just a matter of exposure and letting them know that you can be successful in this industry. Like, it's a trade. You know, I never thought I would be in a trade when I was coming up. So I kind of fell into this industry and it's been very good to me. So, and I tell people all the time, but it's just something, it's one thing you have to want to do this also. You know, it's not easy to start. I think a lot of people, they do actually get into this business, but they don't last long because they want the success that I've had for 25 years. They want it in 6 months. And it does, you have to just stick it out. And this is tough because you got to build and you got to start somewhere and you just can't quit. It's just like, it's really like anything else, brother. It's like you have to stick into it and you have to just do it and continue, and you got to really want to do it.
Now, is your business within a neighborhood that you grew up or you have a close connection to?
No, it's not in my neighborhood, but it's still in my area for sure.
And do you have any other, have you ever seen Blacks say, how do I do this? How do I get into this business? Has anybody ever questioned you about that? And if so, how do you prepare the next generation?
Well, I'm always honest with anyone I speak to about the industry. And I've had so many people come to me, and I've honestly had 2 girls who worked under me that have gone on to be semi-successful. Not to sound braggadocious or nothing, but no one as successful as I am, because I'm just a very driven person. So once, it's funny because I've hired so many people, and the reason I work by myself now is because the work pool is so shallow. No one wants to put in the work. So it's just very hard. Like, most people, when I interview them the first time, next thing I know, they're in nursing school. They've changed total career paths because it's hard to start. You don't have a lot of clientele. You have to sit here and wait, and you might only see 1 or 2 people a day, and they see me service 25 people a day, and it's just discouraging to them. And I tell them all the time, I was you. I sat there and I waited for 1 or 2 people. But as soon as they leave, a person walks in, and guess who gets them? Me, because I'm still here. I don't leave early.
Now, Mark, do you find that when we talked about collective economics and talked about, and I know you said it wasn't the Asians, and I'm not trying to vilify them or anybody, but do they practice collectively buying, and does that undercut you in any way, or you haven't experienced that at all?
Nope, I have not experienced that. And you were saying earlier, I think in the introduction, you were saying, you know, is it just them practicing and us not practicing, or is it like some type of discriminatory act? And I honestly think it's all on us. I honestly don't think the Asians have anything to do with our rise or fall in this industry, because we just can't put it on them. It's up to us to go ahead and do what we want to do to own this industry, or at least own our part of it.
And you know, that's interesting. I saw a post on Facebook from someone that I went to school with, and she's involved in the industry as well. I think more so on the hair care side, you know. Okay. And she had kind of posted an angry post about how she was trying to get a bunch of Black shop owners to pool their resources so they could buy in bulk, you know, and then, you know, get the order, and then everybody get what they needed, and they would get it much cheaper because of the volume buying. Right. But she said she could not get anybody to do that. And she was pretty angry about that. Now, I know I don't think it's as many, like Dre said, as many Black nail techs. Right. But have you ever tried to work with any other organizations to do any volume buying? And if so, did you find it worked out, or you were kind of disappointed by the response?
Well, each salon, most of the salons have independent contractors. So I have seen where, like when I owned my salon, there were 6 women and they did that, so it benefited them. But as far as salon to salon, I don't really see, it's just too much. And it's, there's a salon on every corner. There's a salon there. I'm in a building and there's probably 4 Black salons. We're right next door to each other.
Right.
So the smarter thing would be to cut down on the rent. It's not so much the products, it's the rent that we're shelling out to everybody because we can't stand next to each other and work together. That's where we would save, that's where the cooperative economics would be, I think, more beneficial to us if we could just work under one roof together.
Right. Right. But then I guess everyone, like some of the people that you've probably had, probably feel like, oh, I want to be the man, so to speak. Right.
Which only means that you get to pay the bills.
Right. It's a cost to being the boss.
It's a cost of being the boss.
Now, again, I know you're more on the nail side, not on the hair side. But the thing I find fascinating, okay, nails are universal. All right.
Yeah.
So and we all have nails. But then you talk about, and I know you could probably only speculate with this because that's not what you're working with, but when you talk about the Black hair care industry, and to me, it's fascinating that our people don't really control that. And why do you think that is? Does it go back to what you were saying before, like we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot?
It's definitely that. Like Neil mentioned Bonner Brothers and all of that. I think it's just a matter of people just wanting to do their own thing. Everybody wants to be the boss, and we just can't, for lack of better words, cooperate with each other.
Right.
And in order for us all to win. And this is just not just in the hair industry or the nail industry. This is just our community issue. Like, we have to learn how to put egos aside. I always tell my friends, if you make $1 million, I make $750,000, I'm okay with that. You'll just be buying dinner.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to make 1.2 because you made 1 million. But I think a lot of times, just like you just said, everybody wants to be the boss. Everybody wants their color on the wall. And I'm guilty because there was no place where I wanted to work where I felt comfortable. Everything was quote unquote ghetto, loud, obnoxious. I'm not that type of person. So I had to build my own. That's why I'm a boss or owner, because I wanted to create an atmosphere that was different from what was out there. So I am kind of guilty of doing the same thing, or why I have my own space.
Now, culturally, with nails, what is it culturally that your Black clients, like, but doing Black nails, we've all seen women get their nails done and so forth. But culturally, is there anything that's tied to the way nails should be treated and handled? And if so, how do you relay that message to your clients?
Are you talking about just the practice and the service itself?
Well, no, because I do know that you have certain funguses will grow on feet, and it's best to take care of feet. And I've seen some jacked up feet. I've seen some pretty,
Absolutely.
I think, with getting nails done, I mentioned myself earlier, that I partake in manicures and pedicures. How do you relay the message that you don't have to be a woman to take care of yourself, and that there's benefits to actually, taking care of your feet, benefits that could affect your whole body? So how do you relay that message to tear down these barriers that only women get their nails done?
That's just all in part of my business plan and my marketing and advertising. Like I tell people all the time, your feet take you everywhere. So if you want to go, you better take care of your feet. And I deal with a lot of athletes, like youth athletes. My son's an athlete. And, you know, we teach them now, like, get your feet. My son is 11 years old. He gets massages, he gets his pedicures, he gets his manicures. And it's not so much as a pampering service, but you have to take care of your body, like you said. If you want to run fast, you better have your feet not hurting.
Mhm.
So therefore, we definitely teach our young boys now that it's not so much a pampering service anyway, even massage. You know, it's like you need to feel better in order to function. It's kind of simple, but you know, historically or whatever, it's like we've always made these like luxury services and things that you don't need. And that's kind of changing now that yes, you do need to take care of this body of yours if you want to feel good and last a long time.
Now you said you kind of fell into the business. How did that happen? How did you actually get in? How did it happen, and what really attracted you to the field?
Okay, great question. And I actually love telling the story. Because again, growing up as a child, I won't use profanity, but of course I was a regular guy, 40-ounce drinking, football watching, hip hop listening to black guy. I had no intentions on being a nail tech in my life ever. So I had a buddy who was actually a hairstylist.
Mhm.
And that friend of mine, we used to throw parties together. So I started off as a club promoter. And he knew that I had all the girls. So he would say, man, you better learn how to do something. These women, they love you so much. They all about you. You better learn how to get paid from them. He was like, hair, that's the next best thing to pimping, you know? So he was like, man, you better get this money. You better get this money. And there was this guy, his name was Nicholas, and he was a black guy. And he was an award-winning nail tech in our area. And he was killing them, making so much money doing nails. Again, I had no interest in this. And so as a club promoter, I was also a manager at a Banana Republic retail store. So I was always around a lot of women and just always in the public. So I was popular in our city. So I didn't get a promotion at Banana Republic, and I had saved a bunch of money. And so me and my buddy, we got together and we said, we're going to do two things. We're going to either open up a hair salon or we're going to open up a nightclub. So the nightclub idea fell through because it was too expensive to get a liquor license and all that stuff. We didn't know what we were doing anyway. We were just club promoters. We knew how to fill a club, but we knew how to run a club. So we decided to open up a hair salon. Like I said earlier, he wanted his own because he was a top stylist and he wanted to have it the decor the way he wanted it and I wanted it. And we just made a very nice salon. And that salon actually was an all-male salon.
Mm.
So all men, we used to wear shirt, tie, and we used to service women all day long. Very good business. But like I said, I didn't have a license in any of this. So I was a receptionist. I was answering the phone, taking appointments for those guys, and I wasn't making any money because I'm a visionary person. I'm not really actually a business person. I'm a visionary, and I didn't see the vision of me not getting paid. I just saw this business in which we produced the business, but the financial piece, I missed out on that one. So the quickest license to get inside the industry was a nail tech license. It takes 6 weeks. I took my butt into school. I said, sign me up. I got a business. I need to be able to work in it. Got out of school in 6 weeks, did a pedicure, got paid $50 cash. Took me an hour. The girl was cute. The feet were cute. $50 an hour. I said, wait a minute, I can do this. I never made $50 an hour before in no job. And so I bust my butt and I actually became like the pedicure man. So I was doing pedicures all day, every day. That's my story.
Now the nail schools, who runs those nail schools?
Mostly white people.
Hmm.
Yep.
And the reason I asked that question is when Madam C.J. Walker set up the hair business, one of the first things she did was set up a whole network of schools to train people how to do hair, and was probably the forerunner of the schools for going
Cosmetology.
cosmetology school, and it would seem that if you control the nail schools, or whoever controls the nail schools also gets to shape the practitioner and help to shape that downstream aspect of the business.
Yeah. Well, the nail schools, you can get the license through your high school, or you can go to a private school, which they're mostly white owned. I don't know of any black owned hair schools or nail schools, and they're usually in the same building. And then, as far as I do know, it's like the hair school and nail schools became places where if you got in trouble, they sent you to a nail school to to get you off the street or whatever, just to make sure you were in some type of trade vocation or something like that. So a lot of times the people that's in nail school, they don't even want to be there anyway.
Now, me speaking as someone who I get my manicures and pedicures as well. I just went on Saturday, and I live outside of DC. I could drive all the way into DC and have someone, that looks like me do it, or I go around the corner where they're usually talking to each other. I don't understand what they're saying. Nothing against anybody's culture or language, anything like that. But just like when we look at the NFL, and I know you and I are big NFL fans and big Browns fans specifically. That's a whole nother conversation. But just like we have, I think the players are 70% black, there's no black owners, right? There's no black ownership. And if we were to sit here and say, what would we like to see? We'd like to see more black owners. We'd like to see more black head coaches. I couldn't give a specific number. But if you were to look at the nail industry and just look at your industry as a whole, what are some of the things you would love to see, like a wish list?
Well, it's ironic you say that. A buddy of mine just opened up a beautiful nail salon called Clicky in Shaker Heights on Van Aken. And I would want to see that type of business that what he owned flourish. It's a beautiful space. They made it, and it's very, very pretty. I'm concerned for my friend because I do know the industry, but that would be my wish list, is to see him get, and actually multicultural staff. It doesn't have to be all black. I like that he's a black owner, but I would like it to be majority black, but just to have that type of staff and to be able to keep the integrity of the business.
Now, why are you concerned for your friend? You think our people won't patronize him?
I think the people won't patronize him because I think that there's so many places to go, and it doesn't matter how pretty it is. One, they're going to go to who they want to go to. Two, they want to go where it's fast. Like even for myself, like I used to try to service women. They want to hurry. They want to be in and out. They don't even care that you want to give them a glass of a mimosa or something. They just want to get in and get out because they have to go get the baby, or they got to go to the store. They got to get their hair done. So, a lot of stuff that and that's what the Asians, probably get over. It's like, we're gonna get you in and out. We're not gonna talk to you no way.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we get you in and out. See you later. Give us your money. Bye-bye.
Now you do skincare as well? Is that
absolutely?
Now how big a part of that how big a part of the business is the skincare?
It's growing, and skincare, just like I did research on all the businesses that I was involved in, because I own my own cosmetic line. I'm a nail technician, an esthetician, and at that time I had a hair salon. And I think, like David E said, what's hair, 70 billion?
As I understand it, yes.
Yeah.
Annual.
Okay, 70 billion. Cosmetic industry is about 150 billion. Skincare, another 100. Each category is about 100 billion. And it was blowing my mind how we were not getting a million. You know, like even as a small day spa that I own, I felt as though we should be making, because I've seen spas my size make 750 to $1 million. But again, we just don't work together. It's crazy. It really is.
Now I want to kind of close out with this question, and I want everyone's opinion. Mark, Dre, Dr. Holmes, I want everyone's opinion. When I was talking with someone, and then of course, Mark, we want to get your information for our listeners so they can know how they can reach you and how they could get your products. I'm sure you have a website. When I was talking to someone about how we don't control the Black hair industry, especially the weave industry. I think a large part of that 70 billion is weaves. And the weave we get, the hair we get is Malaysian hair, Indian hair, so on and so forth. Not trying to knock anybody, but do any of you think that kind of a self-hatred in us that's been cultivated kind of perpetuates that industry and the fact that we don't control it because we want to look like somebody else? And I'm talking to 3 people who all wear their hair natural, right? As well as myself. So I don't know what your opinion of that. Mark, I'll start with you. I know it's controversial. You might hurt the feelings of people you know and love.
You know what? And I don't care.
Right.
He's always been a straight shooter. Man, listen, that whole weave thing and the whole where we are with that is honestly, it saddens me. Even from a relationship standpoint, I've actually never dated a woman with the weave. I really don't like them that much. And I just think it's sad that, you know, we cover ourselves. And I've had to I've tried to be diplomatic and say, well, my mom wore a wig, although it was an Afro wig. You know, she covered up her hair. She didn't get her hair done. She wore an Afro wig. And then, you know, then they wound up wearing wigs that had a little bit of, curly, pattern to whatever. I mean, they still wore wigs. No, Black women, for some odd reason, I guess, don't do their hair as often as I think they should. But I guess that's in our culture, is to wear wigs. From what I've experienced. So the weave thing, and I guess I would feel better about the weave situation if we even knew how to adhere the weaves, cut the weaves. They just look so bad.
All right.
They look terrible. Did I say that?
Yes. All right. We can end your piece with that. Dre, what's your take on it?
Well, coming from both a historical and media background, first thing that comes to mind is cultural appropriation, where you have this ideology that a certain person, a certain culture looks better. And I've heard people say, oh, people from this place have better hair, people from this place have better skin. And then all of a sudden, certain communities where you start seeing stores pop up, like there's in Hampton, Virginia, not far from where I live now, I can count in one block, one just regular block, there are 7 hair supply stores. And all of them say the same thing out front: wigs. All of them. And it's one of those things where if you're beat down to the point that another culture is saying, hey, if you look like this, then you'll look better, you'll feel better, all of a sudden it's taking away your own ideology and taking away your image of yourself. Your self-image is your best image. And once you start taking on the image of somebody else, you lost yourself. And I think that plays into a bigger scheme of things in this country, where certain things are done and they're perpetuated within the media, and all of a sudden you have a breakdown within communities, and you wonder why people don't feel good about themselves. And the number of blondes that I see in the Black community, I'm like, man, I didn't know we had that in us.
Right.
So it's interesting to me, and it's, like I said, coming from the two aspects that I've had careers in, it's one of those things that makes me wonder if cultural appropriation is actually tearing down our community, because we are some of the biggest consumers in the world. You put a store in our area and make us think we're getting a deal, we buying four.
Right.
So I think when it comes to weaves, I think that's another thing. And I've seen some girls with hair as long as mine, and the next day they got hair down to their calves. So and they think that it look good.
When you talk about that media, and Dr. Holmes, I'm gonna come to you next. When you talk about that media, it's interesting to me. I don't watch many music videos anymore, but I just, sometimes I might catch one flicking the channels. And the women in the videos are always, if it's a Black artist, the women are always racially ambiguous. They look like they could be Latino, something, but they rarely just look like a straight up sister, that we would know, rarely.
And they all look the same.
Yeah, they pretty much all look the same, and I could give you another example from when I lived in Louisiana, Southern University. Their dancing girls, they wore their hair a certain way during the week, but during the performance, they all wore like a wig, a weave, and it was just interesting to me. Dr. Holmes, I'm gonna come to you. What do you think? You think that in some cases that self-hate is perpetuating that industry?
Well, it's
dominated. Mm-hmm.
and it's not just a question of women. I mean, there are plenty of men who get weaves and have it's all woven in the locks and whatnot. And but I think that when you look at the hair that's popular, and I'm not up on this stuff, but it looks like it's from places like India or
Right.
Brazil. So certain things that are wanted more than others. And if you look at the exploitation, so you have some woman in India who goes to the temple, and the guy in the temple says, cut off your hair and we give it to the gods, and she doesn't get paid. And then they ship it here, and the money does, and just like that Indian woman gets exploited, the end consumer gets exploited because there's none of us in the middle in that whole process. I mean, even you have this cultural thing, but you also have an economic thing. You have a cultural thing of self-doubt or whatever, but you also have a cultural exploitation that's right on top of that. And when I look at the business itself, I see positive and negatives in it. I mean, I would love if everybody had a natural hair thing and whatnot. But even with Madam C.J. Walker, they were able to utilize the money from that business to support the Garvey movement. They were big supporters of the attempt to organize and liberate Africa. And they built that whole network of schools. They built that whole network. And they had they built the in economics, we talk about backward linkages and forward linkages. So let's say the salon is like in the middle. Mm-hmm. The backward linkage is to the supplier who's supplying the necessary equipment, both the stuff that you use and the equipment that you use to apply it. Right. And the forward linkage would be the stuff that comes out of that. So you're gonna you have a consumer down in beyond the consumer that sits in the chair, and that consumer might be again like the schools, who's recruiting and training the next generation of folks. So in that whole train of process, we're not linked in as we used to be linked in. And there's also the ability to have certain conversation. I'm not saying the whole thing is like a university or like a church or anything like that. You're still gonna have a lot of other stuff, other conversation going on. But inside of these places, inside these centers, you have all kinds of communication could occur that is able to shape the thinking on the street. If we have more and more of that sort of certain types of communication. So I look at it as having, as having contradictory kind of aspects to it. And we have to infuse somehow something that, because back in the day, everybody wanted to have the Afro, whatever that was, Afro, the stuff you spray Afro with.
Afro Sheen.
Afro Sheen.
Yeah,
Yeah, Afro
all that
Sheen.
stuff, man. And I had a partner. This is a kind of funny story. I had a partner in South Africa, and they started seeing people swimming across the river from Zimbabwe. Both of them were like at war. Zimbabwe was really at war. And they said, wow, these people are swimming across the river. They're bringing the guns. They were swimming across the river, bringing that Afro Sheen from Johnson. They were swimming across the water, bringing that stuff. And so we had a network that was international, and so I think that that's something that could happen again, and especially if it's tied to the proper product and the proper, consciousness inside of these centers, because these centers can really engender a lot of different discussion.
Well, see, the thing that there's a couple things going with the salons, and I like the word you use, centers. Traditionally churches have been our centers, but everybody doesn't go to the church. Everybody goes to get their, get something done to their hair. I guess the only problem is that in a church, everybody's there at the same time, collectively listening to one person. Whereas in a salon, people are there at different times. And now I could remember as a kid, when I would be in the barbershop, we weren't setting appointments. You just go in there and wait. And you might be in there a couple hours. There were conversations taking place. Now, when I go to a barbershop or salon or whatever the case may be, everybody's head is buried in their phone. So it's like, even when we're together, everybody's in their phone doing their own thing. So we're just not having those discussions. So that's probably how we work past that. That's probably a topic for another show. So, a later one, because that would probably take a half hour to an hour, Mark, before we let you go, tell us how you mentioned you have your own line. And for our listeners and viewers in Cleveland, why don't you tell us where your salon is located and give us your website where they can order your products.
Okay, well, the name of the business is Everything by Face. We're located at 14100 Cedar Road in University Heights, at the intersection of Warrensville and Cedar. The website is everythingbyface.com. At the spa, we offer all types of services: facials, massages, manicures, pedicures, hair removal, that sort of thing. And we have our own cosmetic line. We have skincare products here, and we can get you together everything but the hair, actually. Which I will say this: I always tell my clients, I think the hair is the least important of all the beautifying rituals. And I say that because my number one example is Sade. She had beautiful teeth, beautiful skin, and a beautiful figure, and all she wore was a ponytail.
All the time.
All the time.
Right.
She probably never got her hair done. So go to the gym, keep your teeth clean, get your skin together. No man will deny you.
And on that note, brother, we want to thank you for joining us. As I'm sure you already know, you have an open invitation anytime.
I appreciate it, brother.
Come back and talk.
Love the show. I'm glad to be here. good to see Neil and meet your new brother, other brother that's on the podcast with us. Always good to be around positive Black men. I love it.
Hey, amen.
Yeah.
Can't say it better than that. So for all of our listeners and viewers, we again, as always, we want to thank you for your support, and we'll see you next time.
All right, brother. Thanks a lot.
Lord, yes, papi, hit me one time and make it funky.
I was brought up and taught to have